Admiral Kim Tae-ho pressed his hand against the cold metal wall of the battle station as another explosion shook the entire structure. Through the thick glass windows, he could see the bright flashes of weapons fire in the darkness of space. Last 3 defense satellites were fighting desperately against the alien ships, but everyone knew it was over. "Sir, we're losing power to the main weapons," called out Lieutenant Park Mina from her control station. Her voice was calm, but Tae-ho could hear the worry underneath. She was young, maybe 25, and this was her first real battle. Would probably be her last. The battle station Eternal Dawn had been humanity's pride for 15 years. Built in the asteroid belt and moved to Earth's orbit, it was supposed to protect the planet from any threat. Now it was dying, piece by piece, as the alien fleet tore it apart with weapons that humanity had never seen before. "How many evacuation ships have launched?" Tae-ho asked, walking to the main display screen. The numbers were not good. Half the station's crew was still aboard, and the alien ships were getting closer every minute. 67 shuttles have made it to Earth, reported Communications Officer Lee Dae-yoon. "But sir, the aliens are jamming our signals. We can't coordinate with the surface anymore." Tae-ho nodded slowly. The Veltok Dominion had been planning this attack for months, maybe years. They had studied humanity's defenses and found every weakness: the orbital platforms, the defense satellites, the battle stations. Everything humanity had built to protect Earth was being destroyed in a single coordinated assault. "Sir, incoming transmission from the enemy fleet," Dae-yoon announced, her fingers moving quickly over her controls. "Put it through," Tae-ho said, straightening his uniform. He had been in the Space Navy for 20 years, but he had never spoken to an alien before. No human had. The main screen flickered, and then showed the face of something that made several crew members step backward. The Veltok commander looked like a giant insect, with 4 eyes and mandibles that clicked when it spoke. Its voice came through the speakers in broken but understandable English. "Human commander, your orbital defenses are finished. Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Surrender now, and your people will be treated fairly as part of the Dominion." Tae-ho looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all young, all scared, but none of them looked like they wanted to give up. Park Mina was still working at her station, trying to get the weapons back online. Lee Dae-yoon was monitoring the evacuation ships, making sure they reached Earth safely. Weapons Officer Song Minho was calculating firing solutions even though half the guns were offline. "Alien Commander," Tae-ho said, stepping closer to the screen. "You may have destroyed our space defenses, but you don't know anything about humanity. We've been fighting wars on Earth for thousands of years. You're about to learn why." The aliens. Mandibles clicked rapidly, which Tae-ho guessed was either laughter or anger. "Your planet has no orbital weapons. Your cities have no shields. Your military technology is primitive compared to ours. What can you possibly do against the Dominion fleet?" Tae-ho smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "You'll find out soon enough. Send the signal to Earth. Tell them Protocol 7 is now active." Park Minho's fingers flew over her controls. "Signal sent, sir. All surface stations have confirmed receipt." "What is Protocol 7? The alien commander demanded. "That's for us to know," Tae-ho replied, then turned to his crew. "All hands, prepare for final evacuation. We've done our job here," as the last shuttles launched from the dying battle station. Tae-ho stood alone on the bridge. The alien fleet was moving into Earth's orbit, positioning themselves for what they thought would be an easy planetary invasion. They had studied human space technology and found it lacking. They had analyzed human military tactics and deemed them primitive. Had counted human weapons and found them insufficient. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had assumed that humanity's real strength was in space, in the orbital platforms, and defense satellites. They thought that once those were gone, small window, he could see the alien fleet spreading out across Earth's orbit like a dark cloud. Hundreds of ships, each one more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. "Admiral," his pilot said, "we're receiving transmissions from the surface. Aliens are beginning their invasion." "Good," Tae-ho said quietly. "Let them come. They wanted to see what humanity can do when we're cornered. They're about to get a lesson they'll never forget." As the shuttle descended toward Earth's atmosphere, Tae-ho looked back one last time at the alien fleet. They had won the battle in space, but the real war was just beginning, and it would be fought on humanity's terms, on humanity's ground. Using weapons and tactics the aliens had never encountered before, the last orbital defenses had fallen. Now humanity would show the galaxy what they were really capable of. Commander Heian Wuzhen crouched behind a overturned bus in downtown Seoul, watching the alien dropships descend from the gray morning sky. The massive black vessels moved slowly, their engines making a deep humming sound that seemed to shake the ground. Each ship was the size of a city block and carried hundreds of enemy soldiers. "How many do you count?" whispered Sergeant Lee Do-yoon, lying flat on her stomach beside a destroyed car. She had her rifle ready, but they both knew their bullets would barely scratch the alien armor. 12 ships over this sector alone," Wu Jin replied, speaking into his radio. "Command, this is Team 7. The enemy is landing in force. Estimate 3,000 soldiers in our area." The radio crackled with static before a voice came through. "Team 7, this is Control. Remember your orders. Let them land. Let them spread out. Then show them what Seoul really looks like." Smiled grimly. The aliens thought they were landing in a defenseless city. They had no idea what was waiting for them. The first dropship touched down in the middle of the shopping district, crushing several cars under its weight. A large ramp lowered from the ship's belly, and alien soldiers began marching out in perfect formation. They were tall creatures, standing nearly 3 meters high. With 4 arms and tough-looking armor that covered their insect-like bodies, their ugly Do-yoon muttered, watching through her scope. "And they move like they owned the place." The alien commander stepped off the ship and began pointing with 2 of his arms, giving orders to his troops. They spread out in small groups, moving toward the tall buildings that surrounded the landing zone. Their weapons hummed with energy, and their armor gleamed in the morning light. What they didn't see were the thousands of human eyes watching them from windows, rooftops, and hidden positions throughout the city. What they didn't know was that every building around them had been turned into a fortress over the past 3 months, while their fleet was destroying the orbital defenses. "Target the commander first," Wu Jin said into his radio. "All teams, wait for my signal." The alien troops were halfway across the plaza when Wu Jin gave the order. Now the entire city seemed to explode at once. Windows shattered as gunfire erupted from every building. The coffee shop on the corner revealed hidden gun positions. The department store's roof opened to show missile launchers. Even the subway entrance turned into a firing position as soldiers emerged from underground tunnels. The alien commander spun around in confusion as his perfect formation fell apart. His soldiers were taking fire from every direction, but they couldn't see most of their attackers. The humans were firing from inside buildings, from rooftops, from positions the aliens hadn't even known existed. "Sir, we're taking heavy casualties," one of the alien soldiers shouted in their clicking language. "The humans are everywhere. It's impossible," the commander replied. "Our intelligence said their military was weak. Their weapons are primitive." But the weapons hitting his troops didn't seem primitive at all. Explosions tore through his ranks as hidden bombs went off. Sniper fire picked off his officers one by one. And worst of all, every time his soldiers tried to take cover in a building, they found more enemies waiting inside. Private Cho Soo-jin was waiting in the lobby of the bank building when 3 alien soldiers crashed through the glass doors. She had been a bank teller 3 months ago, but now she held a shotgun and knew exactly how to use it. "Welcome to Seoul," she said in English, then opened fire. The aliens were strong and their armor was tough. But Soo-jin had positioned herself perfectly. The first alien went down immediately. Second one got off a shot that missed her by inches, burning a hole in the marble wall. The third one tried to run, but Soo-jin's teammates were waiting in the stairwell. "Lobby secure," Soo-jin reported. Into her radio, 3 enemies down. All across the city, the same scene was playing out. The aliens had expected to face a traditional military with tanks and planes and organized units. Instead, they found themselves fighting an entire population that had turned every street, every building, every room into a battlefield. The alien commander tried to call for air support, but his communications were being jammed. Regroup his forces, but the humans kept attacking from new positions. Every time he thought he had cleared a building, more enemies would appear from basements, from sewers, from hidden rooms his soldiers had missed. "Sir, we need to retreat too." "The landing zone," his lieutenant shouted over the sound of gunfire. "We're losing too many troops." But when they looked back at their dropship, they saw smoke rising from its engines. A team of humans had somehow gotten close enough to plant explosives on the landing craft. The aliens were stranded in a city that was trying to kill them from every angle. Commander Haon Wu Jin watched from his position as the alien formation collapsed completely. The enemy soldiers were running in panic, trying to find shelter in a city where every shadow held a weapon pointed at them. "Is Team 7?" he reported. "The aliens have landed. And now they're learning why we call this place home." Lieutenant Colonel Song Min-ho crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel, his flashlight cutting through the darkness ahead. Behind him, 37 fighters moved in single file, their boots making no sound on the metal floor. They had been underground for 2 weeks now, moving through the vast network of tunnels that connected every part of Seoul. "Much further," whispered Corporal Cho Soo-jin, who was carrying the radio equipment. Her voice was barely audible, even in the quiet tunnel. 200 meters to the junction," Min-ho replied, checking his map. "Then we take the old subway line to the department store basement." The aliens above them thought they controlled the city. They had set up checkpoints on every street corner and patrol routes through all the main roads. But they had no idea that beneath their feet, an entire war was being fought in tunnels they didn't even know existed. Min-ho had been a city engineer before the invasion. It helped design the subway system and the underground shopping centers that connected Seoul's buildings. Now he used that knowledge to move his fighters through the city without ever being seen by the enemy. "Sir, we're getting reports from Tunnel Team 5, Soo-jin said, listening to her radio headset. "They've reached the alien command post. They're ready to begin the attack." Min-ho nodded and spoke into his microphone. "All teams, this is underground control. Begin Phase 3 in 60 seconds. Remember, hit them hard and then disappear. Don't try to hold any position." The plan was simple but effective. While the aliens focused on controlling the surface streets, human fighters would strike from below. They would emerge from sewers, basements, and hidden entrances, attack the enemy positions, and then vanish back underground before reinforcements could arrive. Sergeant Park Do-yoon was crouched in a storm drain beneath the main plaza, watching the alien patrol through a small grate. 6 enemy soldiers were walking in formation, their weapons ready, their heads turning left and right as they searched for threats. They looked confident, like they owned the streets above. "Target acquired," Do-yoon whispered into her radio. 6 aliens, moving east toward the fountain. "Copy that," came the reply from her team leader, initiating attack in 10 seconds. Yoon and her 3 teammates had practiced this move dozens of times. They would emerge from 4 different storm drains around the plaza, attack the patrol from all sides, and then disappear back underground before the aliens could react. 3, 2, 1, go. The 4 storm drain covers lifted at the same time, and the human fighters emerged like ghosts from the ground. Don's shotgun boomed twice, dropping the nearest alien soldier. Her teammates opened fire from their positions. Catching the patrol in a crossfire, they couldn't escape. The entire fight lasted less than 30 seconds. When it was over, all 6 alien soldiers were down, and the humans had already vanished back into the tunnels. By the time alien reinforcements arrived, the plaza was empty except for the bodies of their comrades. "Surface Team 3. Report," came the voice over Do-yoon's radio. 6 enemies eliminated, 0 friendly casualties," she replied, already moving through the tunnel toward their next target. "We're heading to Extraction Point 7. Above ground, the alien commander was getting increasingly frustrated. His troops were being attacked constantly, but they never saw the enemy. Human fighters would appear from nowhere, strike hard, and then disappear completely. His soldiers were afraid to patrol alone, afraid to enter buildings, afraid to stand still for too long. "Sir, we've lost another patrol," reported his lieutenant, clicking his mandibles nervously. That's 15 attacks today, and we haven't captured a single human fighter. Are they moving around the city? The commander demanded.
We have.
Checkpoints on every street. We have sensors watching every building. Where are they coming from? What the aliens didn't understand was that Seoul had been built in layers. The modern city sat on top of older districts, which sat on top of ancient settlements. Centuries of construction had created a maze of tunnels, basements, forgotten spaces that connected like a vast underground highway. Private Kim Hee-jin was moving through one of those forgotten spaces now, crawling through what had once been a subway tunnel for a line that was never completed. Her team had been underground for 3 days, moving from one target to another without ever seeing sunlight. Contact ahead, she whispered, seeing light at the end of the tunnel. It's like an alien supply depot. The tunnel emerged into the basement of what had been a shopping center. The aliens had turned it into a weapons storage facility, thinking it was secure because they controlled all the entrances from the street level. They had no idea that the basement connected to the old tunnel system. Charge is set, reported her teammate, placing explosives near the alien ammunition boxes. We have 2 minutes to get clear. As they retreated through the tunnel, Hee-jin could hear alien voices above them speaking in their clicking language. They sounded relaxed, confident that their supplies were safe in the secured building. The explosion that followed was heard throughout the city. The alien supply depot vanished in a ball of fire that reached 3 stories high. The enemy soldiers who had been guarding it were never found. Underground control, this is Team 12, Hee-jin reported as they reached safety. Target destroyed. Moving to next objective. The aliens were learning that conquering Seoul meant fighting an enemy that controlled the ground beneath their feet. Captain On So-young floated through the dark ventilation shaft of the alien cruiser, her magnetic boots making tiny clicking sounds on the metal surface. Behind her, 11 other fighters moved like shadows through the narrow space. They had been inside the enemy ship for 2 hours now, and the aliens still had no idea they were there. Reactor room is 50 meters ahead, whispered Specialist Kong Hee-jin through the CUM system built into their helmets. She was reading from a small device that showed the ship's layout. 2 guards at the entrance, probably more inside. Swa-young had volunteered for the boarding teams after spending 3 weeks fighting aliens in Seoul's subway tunnels. The skills were surprisingly similar. Both required moving through tight spaces, striking quickly, and disappearing before the enemy could respond. The main difference was that in space, if you made a mistake, everyone died. How did we get here? Asked Corporal Nam Ji-ho, who was new to the boarding teams. 6 months ago, we were losing the war. Now, we're hunting them in their own ships. So-young smiled inside her helmet. It was a good question. The war had turned completely around in just a few months. The aliens had expected easy victory win. They destroyed humanity's space defenses. Instead, they found themselves trapped in orbit above a planet that refused to surrender. They made a mistake, So-young replied quietly. They thought destroying our orbital stations would end the war. Instead, it just made us angry. The boarding operation had begun 3 weeks ago. When human fighters first captured an alien shuttle that had crashed in the mountains outside Seoul, the enemy pilot was injured but alive. And he had made the mistake of trying to call for rescue. Korean engineers had traced his signal back to his ship and learned how their communication systems worked. From there, everything had moved quickly. Human fighters used captured alien technology to hack into enemy communications. They learned the positions of every ship in the fleet. They discovered which vessels were lightly defended and which ones carried important equipment. Most importantly, they figured out how to get aboard enemy ships without being detected. Movement ahead, reported Sergeant Lee Min-soo from his position. At the front of the group, 2 aliens armed with energy weapons. They're not expecting trouble. The alien guards were standing casually outside the reactor room, talking in their clicking language. They had been in orbit for months now, and they were getting tired of the endless war below. Their commanders had promised quick victory, but the humans kept fighting no matter how many cities were bombed or how many troops were landed. We go in silent, So-young ordered. No energy weapons, no explosions. We need to get to the reactor before they know we're here. Lee Min-soo and Private Park Soo-jin moved forward like ghosts. They had learned to fight in the narrow corridors. of subway trains where noise meant death and speed meant survival. The alien guards never heard them coming. The first guard went down without making a sound. The second one managed to turn around, but Park Soo-jin was already there with her knife. Both aliens were unconscious within seconds, their weapons taken, and their bodies hidden in a maintenance closet. Entry secured, Min-soo reported. Reactor room is clear. Sol Young led her team into the heart of the alien ship. The reactor room was huge, filled with glowing panels and humming machinery that no human fully understood. But they didn't need to understand it, they just needed to destroy it. Charges placed at primary support points, reported Kong Haijin, working quickly with the explosive devices they had brought. We have 5 minutes to get clear. As they prepared to leave, alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and alien voices could be heard shouting orders over the communication system. They know we're here, Nam Ji-ho said, checking his weapon. Doesn't matter, So-young replied, leading them toward the nearest escape route. We got what we came for. The team moved through the ship's corridors as alien soldiers ran past them, heading toward the reactor room. The enemy was panicking, trying to find the human intruders before they could do any more damage. But So-young's team was already at the docking bay where they had left their captured shuttle. 30 seconds to detonation, Haijin announced. As they strapped themselves into their seats, the shuttle launched just as the reactor charges exploded. The alien cruiser shuddered and began breaking apart, its power systems failing one by one. Emergency lights flickered and died as the massive ship lost attitude control and began falling toward Earth's atmosphere. Command, this is boarding team 7, So-young reported as they flew clear of the dying ship. Target destroyed. Returning to base. Through the shuttle's small window, she could see other explosions throughout the alien fleet. 12 boarding teams had launched simultaneous attacks, and 10 of them had succeeded. The enemy fleet that had once seemed unstoppable was now missing a third of its ships. Captain Nam, Ji-ho said, watching the alien cruiser burn up in Earth's atmosphere. Do you think they're finally starting to understand what they're fighting? So-young looked at the remaining enemy ships, which were pulling back to safer positions. They're learning, but it's too late now. We're not the same humans. They thought they were invading, or something much more dangerous. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the massive alien ship that had once been the pride of the Veltok fleet. 6 months ago, he had watched his own battle station die in the cold darkness of space. Now he commanded the most powerful warship in the solar system, rebuilt with human engineering, and crewed by fighters who had learned to hate their enemies. Sir, we're detecting the last group of alien ships near the jump point, reported Captain Park Mina, who had somehow survived 3 different station explosions to serve as his communications officer. 15 vessels, all heavily damaged. They're trying to escape to deep space. Through the massive viewport, Tae-ho could see the scattered wreckage that had once been the Veltok invasion fleet. Hundreds of ships had come to conquer Earth. Now only a handful remained, limping away from the planet they had thought would be easy prey. How many humans did we lose? Tae-ho asked quietly. Final count is still coming in, replied Lieutenant Colonel Song Min-ho, who had been promoted after his underground warfare successes. Maybe 2 million dead, another 5 million wounded. But sir, we saved the planet. We captured enough alien technology to build a fleet of our own.
Yo!
Nodded slowly. The price had been terrible, but humanity had survived. More than survived, they had won completely. The aliens who had come to make Earth part of their empire were now running for their lives. Sir, incoming transmission from the fleeing ships, Park Mina announced. It's their fleet commander. He wants to talk. Put him through, Tae-ho ordered. Straightening his uniform, he had spoken to this alien before, back when the Veltok thought they were winning the war. The main screen flickered to life, showing the same insect-like face that had demanded humanity's surrender 6 months ago. But now the alien commander looked different. His 4 eyes were dim with exhaustion, and his mandibles clicked nervously as he spoke. Human Admiral, the alien said in broken English, we wish to leave your system. We will not return. We will. Tell the Dominion that Earth is too dangerous to conquer. Please let us go. Tejo studied the alien's face for a long moment. Behind him, his bridge crew waited silently. These were the same people who had watched their space stations burn, who had fought in the tunnels beneath Sol, who had boarded alien ships and turned them into weapons. They had earned the right to decide what happened next. Commander Tejo said slowly, 6 months ago, you told me that humans were weak. You said our technology was primitive. You said our planet would be easy to conquer. Do you remember? Alien's mandibles clicked faster. Yes, I remember. Oh, we were wrong. We did not understand what humans are capable of when they fight for their home. No, you didn't understand, Tejo agreed. You thought we were soft because we built cities instead of hives. You thought we were weak because we cared about our families. You thought we were stupid because we tried to talk peace before we made war. Captain Unsoyoung stepped forward from her position at the weapons console. She had led more boarding actions than anyone else in the fleet, and her face showed the scars of close combat with alien soldiers. Sir, she said quietly, they killed millions of our people. They bombed our cities. They tried to make us slaves. Why should we let them go? Tejo looked around the bridge at his crew. Sergeant Lee Do-yoon, who had become an expert sniper in the ruins of Seoul. Corporal Cho Soo-jin, who had learned to plant explosives in alien supply depots. Lieutenant Park Dae-yoon, who had led tunnel fighters through the underground war. All of them had lost friends, family, homes. All of them had reasons to want revenge. Because Tejo said finally, we're not like them. We don't conquer planets. For fun, we don't kill people just because we can. We fight when we have to, and we stop when the fighting is done. He turned back to the screen, where the alien commander was waiting nervously for his answer. You can go, Tejo said. We'll carry a message to your Dominion. Tell them that Earth is protected. Tell them that humans are not the weak creatures you thought we were. Tell them that if they ever come back, we won't just fight for our own planet. We'll come looking for theirs. The alien commander's relief was obvious. Thank you, Admiral. We'll deliver your message. The Dominion will not forget this lesson. Make sure they don't, Tejo replied. Because next time, we won't be waiting for you to come to us. As the alien ships jumped to hyperspace and disappeared into the darkness, Tejo turned to address his crew. 6 months ago, we were just another species trying to survive in a dangerous galaxy. Today, we're something different. We're the people who turned a conquest into a disaster. We're the planet that an empire tried to swallow and choked on instead. Looked out at the stars where humanity's new fleet was already beginning to spread. Wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy. Instead, we taught them theirs.